So the average cost of a four-year college degree right now is between $100,000 and $280,000 when you factor in tuition, room and board, books, all that fees and stuff like that. But if you're like me and your kids are getting to that stage of life where they're getting to the end of high school, they're starting to wonder, like, what's next? What am I going to do after high school? You might be asking yourself if the high price of college is worth it. Is the degree worth the cost, the investment? Is there going to be a job for them in 5, 6, 7 years? Is AI and automation going to take over these careers that they're looking into? These are all very valid concerns. They're concerns that my wife and I have. We've been doing a lot of research with our three kids on different careers that they've told us that they're interested in, just so we can provide them with the most up to date, correct information on kind of what to expect with whatever it is that they want to do. So there's kind of like three buckets here when it comes to the college path. So there's the no brainer kind of path where it's like college is obviously going to be worth it. These are your jobs like doctors, teachers, engineers, nurse practitioners, where the pay is good and degrees are required. And the job market and future outlook of these jobs is great. 10, 15 years down the road, all of these jobs look very, very strong based on the research that I've done. AI will be implemented into these fields, but it's not going to take over these fields. And you're going to be able to get a job right out of high school because the aging population, every year more and more people retire from these fields, so there's more and more job openings. So if you have a team that wants to go down one of those paths, definitely, I think it's worth the investment.
Before we move on, I wanted to share a free resource that I created for parents helping their teens plan their futures. It covers 10 of the top career paths for the next 10 to 15 years, with details on pay, the education path required, and how AI is changing each field. You can download it for free below. It's a great resource and starting point for your teen's next step. All right, back to the video.
Then there's the other side. I don't think it's worth going to college at all if you have a teen who's very interested in the trades. Think plumbing, electrician, HVAC technician, welding, auto mechanic. There's so many of them. These are jobs where you can start doing apprenticeships during your senior year of high school. You can get out of high school, start working right away, making really good money, no college debt, and the job outlook for those jobs is just as good as the ones that we just talked about a second ago. 10, 15-year outlook are fantastic, and there's more than enough jobs to go around. So if you have a teen who's interested in the trades, I encourage you to encourage them. It's a great path to take. Then there's this big group of teens that are in the middle, where these are the teens that don't know what they want to do, which is really common. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was 18. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was 40. So is college worth it for them? Like, do you want a kid going to college who has no idea what they want to do? In my opinion, for many of these kids, yes. And I'll tell you why in a second. Then there's the other group in that middle bucket that they do know what they want to do, but they're choosing a degree that is considered a little more risky from AI and automation, maybe risk that there's just not a lot of job opportunity out there. So maybe 100,000 kids graduate with a degree, but there's only 70,000 openings per year. That would be risky. So when is it right to go to college and maybe pick a different path if you're in that gray area? These are things that my wife and I have been, going over and looking into and just researching like crazy. So in my opinion, if you have a kid who has no idea what they want to do and they're not like a self-starter, they're not self-motivated, I still recommend college is probably a good path for them. I would encourage them to pick a path by like sophomore year, like pick something. It doesn't have to be the right path. Like they can pick something that they're interested in and just encourage them and let them know that you can do this for 5, 10 years and you don't have to do it forever. So if you change your mind, you can always reverse course. You can pivot. I don't think enough people tell their kids that early on, that it is okay to make a mistake when you are picking your path early in life. You do not have to get this perfect. I changed careers in my 30s. again in my 40s, and I'm doing it now again in my early 50s. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you have a kid who might be self-motivated, self-started, they're just out there, they want to get out there and try things, but they don't know what they want to do, maybe a gap year is great for those kids because they are motivated. They're not just going to sit on the couch and, do nothing for a year. They're going to get out there and spend that gap year working, trying new things, maybe traveling, starting a YouTube channel, things like that. So if they don't know what they want to do and they don't really have an interest in college, maybe encourage a gap year. But I would highly recommend coming up with a plan for that gap year. Don't just say, I'm going to take a year off and I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, come up with a plan and then work the plan. And then if they want to go to back, if they want to go to college a year or two later, fantastic. If they find their thing during that gap year, well, then they just saved a lot of money on that degree. If you have a teen who is going after a degree or a job that is a little more risky, I recommend doing the research in that field and finding out what you can do with your team to lower the risk of that career. And the easiest way to do that is getting certifications in very specific things within that field that proves to companies that you didn't just get a degree, you didn't just pass a test, you learned something specific. Like, this one thing inside and out. A good example would be, so say you have a teen who's going to college for business, advertising, marketing, something like that, which is a very popular degree. A lot of teens, a lot of college kids graduate with these degrees, and a lot of these kids have trouble getting a job right out of college because they're just kind of blanket degrees. There's no true specialty. But if you graduate and you have a certification in something like Facebook or Meta ads, running ad campaigns, and you actually went and got a certification on this, or Google Analytics, GA4, say, or the entire Google suite, the work office suite, something that proves that you specialize in something or multiple things within your field of study. Those are the kids that are going to stand out from the crowd. Because you have to remember, there's so many people now who are using AI to help them write their resumes, right? So everyone's resumes are going to pretty much look alike. And then you have these companies now that are using AI to read these resumes, to flag anyone who stands out. So if you don't stand out, if you don't have something extra, these AI readers aren't even going to flag your resume at all. You're just going to get tossed. Not that you're a bad person or that you're not smart. It's just you don't stand out. You don't look special to the company. So one way to do that is just get certifications. You can get certifications for $100, $200, $300 online. You can kind of pick your field of study based on where you want to go after college and just pick 2 or 3 things and get certified. Another thing is getting endorsements. So you go and do an internship somewhere in your field where now you have someone speaking on your behalf that, hey, this person not only got a degree, they came here and did this. They did this for me. Here's a project they worked on. You are now getting an endorsement from somebody in your field, and that speaks very, very highly of you. And it, again, makes you stand out from the crowd. And then a third thing you can do if you are in one of those degree fields that are a little more risky is doing something like building a personal brand on YouTube within your field. I'm recommending this to all of my kids, by the way, all 3 of my kids. This is where you spend your college years. You can even start this in high school, making a YouTube channel where you basically are documenting everything that you're learning. You're basically teaching people what you're learning who are just like a few steps behind you. And you're giving your thoughts on it, your takes on what you're learning or how this could be applied to different things within your field. You could start interviewing people in your field. Let me give you a quick example. So my son is going into a very risky career when it comes to college degrees. He wants to do music performance. So he wants to play in symphony orchestras and Broadway and these things where there's not a lot of job demand. There's very few openings and you have to stand out from the crowd. Chances are even if you stand out from the crowd, you're going to have to wait in line to get one of these high ranking spots. We're not encouraging him not to do this though. By all means, go to college, meet everybody, meet all the people in your field, work with different conductors and composers and, meet different players in the field. Build a YouTube channel around this. So while he's in college, we're recommending that every single performance that he does, do personal recitals, teach other musicians everything you're learning. Teach the people who are a year behind you what you're learning. Give your take on it. Start interviewing composers and conductors and different people, different players in some of these Broadway or symphony orchestras. When he graduates, he's going to have this 4 or 5 year body of work that shows everything he's done in his field. And because he's been interviewing people within his field, do you think people are going to know his name? When it comes time to start getting a job, he's going to go look for a job in, Florida with this specific symphony. Well, guess what? He's interviewed 6 of the people there on his own YouTube channel. He's a known face before he's even gotten hired for a job. And you can do this in any field there is. I've done this exercise with all 3 of my kids and nieces and nephews and friends. And it's pretty fascinating to kind of see it laid out of how it really works, no matter what your kid's studying. And then there's the other side of college that isn't just about the degree. You might have a teen who's just not a self-starter. They're not motivated. They need that structure. They worked well in high school, but as soon as they got home, they just kind of sat in their bed and, scrolled on their phone, which is fine. I mean, they need downtime. But college might be great for them to figure out what they want to do. Because if they go to college and they don't know what they want to do, they're going to be exposed to new ideas and new topics and new people. And it might just be the thing that they need. And college is kind of an environment where they're still going to have to maintain a schedule, be responsible, but they're also going to have a lot more independence and start managing their own time and their own money. And so it's like a good bridge from being dependent to being independent, but in a structured way. So I think college can definitely benefit them. And in my opinion, is still worth the investment because chances are by sophomore year or definitely junior year, they're probably going to find their path. And if they don't, guess what? Like we talked about earlier, you can pivot. There are no set rules. If your kid goes to college for a year or two and they realize it's not for them and they want to go start their own business and they want to travel being a YouTube travel blogger or whatever, let them do it. They're in their 20s. Encourage it. Let them try now and figure out what they love to do. That's what we're doing with our kids. We're giving our kids all of the options, provide them with the most current, modern, up-to-date information, and then let them kind of do their thing and offer them help and guidance when they need it. And I think our job as parents is to prepare our kids for the world they're going to grow up in. The world they're going to grow up in is very, very different than the world we grew up in. I don't think we should be preparing our kids for the same things that we were prepared for. The job market is different. It is so different. There are so many different ways to make a living now. You don't have to do the 9 to 5 corporate ladder anymore. It's not necessary unless they want to do it. So talk to them, figure out what they want to do the research with them of like what that career or what that path looks like and show them the options and see what's best for them. If you're interested, I put together a free resource that goes over, just based on my research, the 10 most in-demand careers for the next 10 to 15 years. So it's like and some of them are college bound, college paths required. Some of them are no college. So if you want to grab that, you can, it's in the description below and I'll pin it to the top of the comments and you can just download it for free. I also put together a video of the 10 riskiest college degrees and how to lower the risk of those degrees. Don't get scared if your kid wants to do something on this list. My own kid wants to, he's pursuing one of the degrees that are at like the top of this list. There are ways to lower and limit the risk of all of these degrees. You want to educate yourself and prepare your kids and show them that there are things that they can do to make themselves stand out no matter what they choose to do. And that's what the next video is about. So you can check that out. It's in the description below. And don't forget to download the guide that includes the 10 most in-demand careers for the next 10 or 15 years.